Hey Maple, this is Pastor Bill again with the Maple Minute, just trying to keep you up to date what's going on around here. Appreciate all the steadiness of people watching our videos and keeping up with us online. I know this is difficult days. Keep praying. I got good news today. Steve Garner sent me an email over the last couple of days, and he wanted to let everybody know that though he was concerned that he might have gotten in contact with some people that had the COVID-19 virus. He actually went through the testing process, and after a long process, he was found to be negative in his test, so that's good results. Keep praying for him, as well as, and he reminded me too, and something I do daily, but pray for one another, but especially for those that are elderly, shut in. Think about those that are in, I think about Miss Loney and others that are in nursing homes that have no one to come see them, and they may not understand what's going on in the world today. So prayer is the biggest thing. God can be their comfort in times of need, and so He is enough. We know that to be true, and instead of always looking on the bad side of things, let's try and look a little bit on the positive things. On the other side of life, I wanted to remind you that there are opportunities to do good in life. Look for opportunities. I know the community itself has different projects out there if you want to get involved. Those of you that have Amazon accounts, you might want to look into the pregnancy center, Your Choice Randolph. They have a list. If you go on to the Amazon and you find the Your Choice Randolph, YCR, they have a list of needs. They're giving away diapers and formula and needs, desperate needs for our community during this time period. So if you want to help them out, you go on to Amazon. You can order for them to get it. No, you don't have to have any contact. You can donate directly to them. So that's an awesome opportunity. Also, next week, remember that our Randolph County commissioners, and this is amazing, the Randolph County commissioners, who I don't know personally, maybe you do, but I don't know them, they, as a governmental act, have asked our churches to get involved with helping them in this aspect of prayer. And so it's great when Christians call for prayer, but it's even better when non-Christian agencies, our government, calls for prayer. And so we want to help them out, and we want to take the next step, go beyond that. So we're not just asking you to pray next Monday, April 6th, all day. That's a great thing. But if you can, we as a church, we are going to make that a day of prayer and fasting. And we haven't talked a lot about fasting, but you can do it in many different ways. I know some of you, maybe you have some health concerns, diabetics. I know as a diabetic myself, it's hard sometimes to fast a full day's worth of meals, although I can do that. But there are other ways to fast if you want to give something up. The idea behind fasting is to get closer to God and make it more serious. It's a spiritual commitment. So whatever you decide to give up, whether it's one meal, all day of meals, maybe you just need to fast some media, and maybe you don't have to fast for just one day. If you want to fast TV and media for multiple days, please don't fast against us, though, because we're your church contact. But we're encouraging all of our church family to go ahead and fast on Monday and pray. Make it a serious matter of prayer. Make a list. Make a huge effort to pray for our leadership. I tell you, the decisions that leaders are making today are so heavy. And so pray for your leaders, both nationally and locally. Pray for your church leadership as we try and navigate through this time, because I'm telling you, there's no guidelines. There was no classes in Bible college seminary to ever prepare anybody for a COVID-19 shutdown, lockdown. So pray for your leaders. Pray for me, but pray for one another. Pray for our senior citizens in our church, and pray for one another. Pray that God will do great things amongst us, and be faithful in your prayer. And with that, let me just share a quick little note. I grew up in a home that my dad was a pastor. He worked in the government. And one of the great things that I got to do is I got to experience my dad because I was a later in life child. I got to experience my dad as an older adult. And he imparted a lot of his wisdom with me when I wanted to learn something I could. And my dad was always that consummate teacher, and I appreciate that. And one of his greatest loves beyond Bible was history. In fact, those who knew him best knew that he was a history teacher. He loved to teach history. And so he gave me a lot of information, gave me a lot of, he gave me a good love for history itself. But I came across this the other day, and I wanted to share it with you. If you don't know this, Grover Cleveland, and he's not one of the more famous of presidents. We always talk about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, some of the other ones that maybe have bigger names. But do you realize Grover Cleveland, he was the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms in the office of president. He's on the list at number 22 and number 24 in his presidencies. There's so many unique things. In fact, he's the one that's responsible. If you've ever seen or you've been up to New York, you've seen the Statue of Liberty. He's the one who's responsible for dedicating the Statue of Liberty in New York, in the harbor there. He's also the only president to have ever gotten married while in the White House. He was 49, a very young guy actually. He was 49, younger than I am right now. He was 49 when he got married, and his bride, her name was Frances Folsom, she was only 21. And that made her actually the youngest first lady to ever be in our White House, first lady of the United States. And he came from good roots. His dad was a Presbyterian preacher, so he was very well grounded in biblical theology. He knew a lot about Bible and what God wanted for his life. And that was good because during his time period as president, he had to deal with a lot of major issues while he was in office that sometimes he doesn't get credit for. And some of them were personal, some of them were national. In fact, he dealt with huge nationals of financial panic during his time period. I think this is where it really resonated with me. He also, during his time period as president, and this was kept very quiet, kept under lockdown as far as information went out. He suffered from cancer while he was in office. In fact, they had a very secretive surgery that was done. He had surgery done for this cancer while he's in the White House on a yacht of a friend of his, and they told nobody. That it was never released to the public. For the longest time, it was not released. So he went through a lot of crazy things, but he was an outstanding man of character and strength and determination. In fact, historians have applauded his industry, his integrity, his courage, and his common sense. He has been highly renowned for his strength in office, as well as the fact that he routinely worked late into the night, most of the time beyond midnight. And when it came down to it, when people were investigating to write his biography, they asked, what is the secret to your strength? And we talked about strength the other day. And I found this is really what I wanted to get to. The secret of his energy was found in this motto that he lived by. It was a Bible verse that he actually framed and hung directly over his bed at night. So when he went to sleep, the last thing he'd see before he went to sleep, and the first thing he saw when he woke up in the morning was this motto, this life verse that he had. In fact, he loved it so much that he included this motto in his family crest. And it's something that he kept within eyesight of himself, no matter where he was at, whether he was in the office as president or he was in his private practice. He kept this, and he made it a part of his family's crest. And the verse, as he had it in the Old King James, from Deuteronomy 33, verse 25, this is the part of that he had, as thy days, so shall thy strength be. Deuteronomy 33, 25. As thy days, that's the Old King James, as thy days, so shall thy strength be. Like I said, he woke up every morning with a firm conviction that God would give him strength required for the work assigned for that day. He believed that God would give him sufficient strength for each day's task as long as he lived. And that helped him when he faced both national needs and when he faced private needs. Can you imagine this? In a time period when he lived, things weren't as good medically, yet he faced cancer. He had to have surgery and quiet, all these different things. In the NIV, as we read most of the time in church, it says this, your strength will equal your days. Your strength will equal your days. That was the promise that he was claiming. And that's a line in the Bible that's just filled with high voltage strength, high voltage power. And I think as you go through your days, life can be draining. Watching the news, watching the pandemic as it unfolds, it can drain you. You can put fear in your life. There is so much fear. All you have to do is go to the grocery store, and don't if you don't have to, but go to the grocery store one time, and you'll see the fear that everybody has because the shelves are empty. People are afraid this is the end of the world, and it's not. There's this promise that, and maybe we'll look into it a little bit deeper as we go through, but this promise that President Grover Cleveland claimed years ago, your strength will equal your days. It's such a great promise that actually the hymn writer, for How Firm a Foundation, he devoted one entire stanza to it. It goes like this: in every condition, in sickness, in health, in poverty's veil, or abounding in wealth, at home and abroad, on land and on the sea, as thy days may demand, shall thy strength ever be. Hey, when you're looking for strength, maybe you ought to go and find a verse like Deuteronomy 33:25 where it says, your strength will equal your days. You know what? God will give you the strength to make it through. You will not fail. God has promised here, people, Maple, God has promised that he will sustain us. So when you're down, when you're distraught, when you feel drained, and I tell you, you may be at home right now, but you probably have gone through a lot more emotional draining, mental draining, social draining, because you can't get the avenues of relaxation that you're used to. I tell you, and by the way, TV and the internet, they do not help you with this problem. They don't, unless you're listening to somebody who's speaking truth into your life like we're trying to do here. Let me just give you this. Claim the promise that Grover Cleveland claimed as president. When he went through all the problems of his life, he would look at it every morning, and the Bible claims, your strength will equal your days. Well, I hope that encourages you. Pray for one another, and look forward to the next time we meet on the Maple Minute. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. God bless.